how much time on an average would you spend on it?
On an average, about an hour every day.
An hour every day. Are there any particular websites of architecture that you go through, or
Only the ones which Amit recommends.
what about primary research for any project? Is it done online or?
Absolutely.
So in terms of besides satellite imaging or what else?
No, there is a lot of information which one gets online, which is to do with your project requirement, processes, equipment, examples of other projects, then not exactly blogs, but what do you call them? Chat rooms in which there's discussions going on. Professional level chat rooms, not that I went to the market and bought some sandals, but questions like, so let's say we are designing hospitals, so somebody is asking a question that why is the numbering of the rooms done only in this way? So yes, it's a question. Nobody ever stopped to think about it. You just do it because when we did the first one, then somebody said, no, this is not the way to number it. It should be done this way. So you did it, and after that, you never bothered. But yes, somebody raised the question. But I have a problem. I can't number it like this. So is there a problem if I don't number it in the normal way? So there's a discussion like that. Why do we have certain colors somewhere and why not some other colors? Is there any research or something to prove that people will go mad if you actually paint the wall red in the hospital or something like that? So there are things happening like that. One is.
So has this changed the way you practice architecture as opposed to 10 years ago? Like
10 years ago, I would say 10 years ago, pata nahi. But yes, certainly comparing with 20 years ago or 25 years ago, there is a sea change. And that is a very important change. 25 years ago, we used to buy a lot of books. We are not buying books so much now.
Is that a bad thing? Or is that
I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing, but at that time, there was not so much of stuff available in any case. There was no internet, so you were constantly visiting the bookshops, the book fairs, and whatever sales, exhibitions, which be, and just about lapping up everything. When you found some book of your interest, so de do in the sense that you didn't know when or and some of it was good, some of it was not so good. But now we're not buying so many books because a lot of the real information is not available in books anymore. It's actually available on the net.
So do you trust the information on the net in comparison to the information given in books?
Trust information is to be seen in the same light as how do you trust information in a book. Everything has to be verified. So trust and verification has to go together. So when you read something in a book, then you better read in 4 other books to make sure that what this book says is correct. And the same thing you have to do on the net. There's no difference.
So if an article has been given to you in a book or you read it on the internet, your level of say acceptance or agreement with that article
is
the same.
It's absolutely the same.
Have the specific skill sets of an architect, because of the information that's easily available, have the skill sets of an architect become redundant now? Since there is so much, since construction details and do-it-yourself, everything is available online. So, do you think that the role of an architect has diminished?
No. In fact, it's become much more significant and much more important. And I'm not just saying so because I happen to be an architect. It's there because the information is so much that it requires a person with the capacity to discern and apply, who can make sense of that information. Otherwise, you will have, an X way of doing things, and you will also have a Y way of doing things, in which it would be very clearly proved that the X way is wrong. And why are we being blind to it when it's clearly not the right way? So you have X and you have Y, and you don't know what to do. So maybe neither are good, and maybe there is what you really need is something in between. So who's going to get you that in between? It's not there on the net. Somebody has to figure it out. So the figuring out is become that much more difficult, because the choices to figure out from is so much greater. So you need an architect, or rather you can call that person by any name, but you need that person who has the ability to sift from every piece of information what is the exact value at that point of time, what is valuable and what is not valuable. That differentiation the person has to be able to make.
So to that, if that is the role of an architect today, of judging whether this is right and finding the mediocre, what is the role? I mean, where does the designer then go?
What is the designer? The designer is a mediator. The designer is, it's a myth, and it's very painful to shatter that myth, but the designer is not a creator. The designer almost never creates in my mind. The designer basically mediates. So you have 20 different forces which are impacting on what your project is. There might be requirements, there might be context, there might be values, your own values, your client's values, your users' values, what they perceive as good, bad, what you think is comfortable. There might be standards saying that these are the absolute standards of comfort. There might be absolute standards of ergonomics. There might be constraints of money. There might be constraints of environmental hazards. So many things will be there, and design has to mediate between all this. Everything by itself will give you a particular way of doing things. If you forget everything else, if you're designing only for this in mind, then it gives you something. If I was to say that to hell with everything else, I just want to do this only my way to please myself, I will do something else. And it's when you have to combine all these into one single construct, into one single piece of work, that's when real design happens. And the creativity has to be tempered with the art of wayfinding, with the art of negotiating. That's when you get design.
But the creativity still, like you said, a set of constraints and instructions, but what I design would be different from what she designed. So there is an element of individuality, of creativity. But with the coming in of the internet, since the information or the answer is so readily available, do you think that the creativity loses out somewhere? If I have some absolutes of side and context,
No, I think the individuality, or the idea of being different, or the idea of what do you call it, innovative, is kind of oversold. We are neither less or more innovative or different or creative than we were before. What we have seen happen in front of our eyes is that the publicization of whatever you do is that much more. So in 1985, if I was doing something and you could turn around and say, wow, this looks different, it was not so much about the fact that, I had dreamt it up, or, in some, 4 o'clock in the morning, a bulb had lit somewhere in my mind, and I jumped up from my bed and made it. It was just something that the germ of that idea I had got from something which had come to my mind from somewhere else, which no one else had seen. So that is the operative theme, that's the operative aspect of it, that I had seen something which no one else had seen. Okay, therefore what I was making had this halo of being my own. Now, it's not so common that what I would have seen, nobody else would have seen. Okay, so there are still just as many ideas which are going around in the air, in the ether. Okay, there are, if at all, more people to grab those ideas. So the chances that the same idea would be grabbed by more people at in any given block of time, if I am thinking of something in design by way of form, by way of spaces, by way of materials, by way of appearances, chances are that at this very point in time there would be 10 other people in this very city who are thinking of exactly the same thing. Okay, we may have started, or we may have got inspired from different things, but tomorrow if you were to call a forum, if you were to put out on the social network that we are looking for people who will be interested in this, surely you will find people who are interested in exactly the same thing. And if you go, oh, you also thinking of the same thing? Oh, I am also thinking of the same thing. Then how am I new? I was never new. It's just that I knew less people who thought like me.